main purpose of having a trading strategy is to get an edge. If we didn't have an edge, then over a period of time we would expect to make no money. In fact, because of the cost of the trades in the form of the spreads, we'd expect to lose money. As well as getting an edge, a well-defined strategy should also enable the trader to manage the risk of the trade. Now let's look at the key components of a strategy. Successful traders will make sure that they have all the key components of the strategy documented. First, beliefs and methodology. What's the basic idea that you're trading? Why and how does it work? Would you be able to explain to your best friend that doesn't trade how and why this strategy works? Not all strategies are that simple, but quite a few strategies really are simple enough that your best friend should be able to understand what it is that you're doing. And if they don't, that is a warning sign that perhaps you haven't got it as clear in your own mind as you should have. Filters and setup. What conditions are you looking for to be potentially interested in a trade? Next, the trigger. Okay, you found a potential trade. What specific event are you looking for that turns that potential trade into being an actual trade? Next, the entry. For some people, the trigger and the entry might actually be exactly the same thing. So they'll have a stop order in the marketplace, which when the event they're looking for, the trigger, happens, they'll automatically be put into the trade. For other people, the trigger is just a sign that they need to get into the trade, and then they will take the steps to get into the trade themselves, for instance, perhaps via a limit order. The initial stop. The purpose of the initial stop is twofold. First of all, when you set the initial stop, you're establishing the point at which you will get out of the trade if it goes against you. And that's critical and essential for every trade. The other purpose of the initial stop is it actually gives you a yardstick to measure the performance of the trade against. So if the distance between your entry and your initial stop is, say, 2 and your eventual profit is 4, then you have gained twice your original risk. It gives you a measuring tool for every single trade you take. Bet size, sometimes referred to as position size. For a spread bettor, this will be how many pounds per point we bet on the individual trade. And the total risk on the trade will be the distance between the entry and the stop times the pounds per point. How much that actually is will depend on the total amount of funds that the spread bettor has for spread betting and what percentage of the funds they're willing to bet on each bet. And that needs to take into account their objectives and their risk preferences. Exit techniques. As we discussed earlier, I believe that exit techniques are much more important than entry techniques. And two different spread bettors taking exactly the same entry on a bet, but with different exit strategies, will achieve completely different results. Re-entry. This is the one optional component of a trading strategy. For a long-term trend follower, for instance, they might get stopped out of their trade, but the long-term trend is still intact and they want to get back into it. So they might have a more relaxed set of criteria for getting back into the trade than they did for taking the original entry. This is not going to be applicable for this DVD. Bets in combination. For every strategy that the spread bettor is using, there must be rules about how many bets can be open at any one time. For a day trader, that actually might just be one. So the day trader might just take trades sequentially and never have more than one trade open at any one time.